Hey everyone, so today's video is going to be looking at some recent AliExpress items that I've received. So basically, as soon as I received my Apple Watch Series 6, pretty much when I pre-ordered it, I actually went online and had a check for different types of bands, as well as the screen protectors as well. So this is actually exactly the same as the one that I've got on. Originally I wasn't going to actually use one of these because I love the colour, the original colour so much. However, I work in a manual hands-on kind of job, and basically I was just way too wary of getting scratches all over the phone, sorry, the watch essentially. So eventually I decided to just put this on, and I'm not too displeased with it. Now I don't have to worry about scratches on the watch, as well as any scratches around the sides or anything. As you can see just there, it's already got a few nicks on it from the job that I do at work essentially, so it's a good thing that I have this. The band, obviously I ordered the Braided Loop, the blue, just because of the look of it, but what I did do was go online and have a check to see what else is available out there. I also have some other interesting products here as well, so we'll take a look at those in a second as well. So firstly, onto the band. So the first thing I did was try and look for more basically Apple Watch loops essentially, and these ones, originally the single silicone one, as you can see from, I don't know if you'll be able to see it, no, they don't actually have it listed, but essentially the listing on this particular item, it just came in the same sort of sizing, so small, medium, large. It didn't actually do the same thing that Apple does, where it actually measures them out. So what I'll do is I'll insert a photo showing just how much longer this is than the basically the Braided Loop. So essentially this doesn't fit, and that's mainly down to the fact that this particular seller didn't actually give, like you get the 9 sizes or 11 sizes, I can't remember exactly how many it is, but you don't actually get that many sizes in these. So basically this one is essentially no good. None of these bands cost me anything more than, say, £3.54. Well, I don't think I paid £4 for any of these. So all of these bands would have been less than £3, £3.50 at most. So what I'll do is I'll start with these ones. So your classic sports bands, and these ones I messed up. This is my mistake, but I thought I had ordered one blue with the green inserts. As it turned out, I ordered two exactly the same, and the main reason for that was literally I ordered these as part of one of my first few purchases. That was on pre-order day, and then a couple of days later, because as soon as a new product comes out, any Apple products, generally a few days later you're going to get an influx of all new bands and styles and cases and things like that. And for that reason, I actually went online and basically I just bulk ordered this as part of a second one, second purchase if you like. So I ended up with the same thing twice, but it's very similar, pretty much exactly what you're going to get with the original. I don't think it is the same quality as the original. This seems pretty thin, so I would expect the Apple Watch bands to be slightly thicker. And when you're inserting it, some of these are quite easy. Some of the bands are quite easy to actually insert into the watch. Others are a little bit more difficult. But in terms of comfort, it's just as good. Somebody did question about using these in comparison to your Braided Loop. Your Braided Loop, I think, for me at the moment, is still my favorite band, just because of how comfortable it is. And basically, sometimes at work, I have to switch my watch into that orientation just to protect it from whatever I'm doing. So because of that, obviously it's quite easy in terms of what happens with these is, because it loops inside, once you actually tighten these up, so wherever you set your pin to, once you actually insert this on the inside, it'll actually tighten up slightly further. And as it's going over your wrist, because it's not got the flex on most of these bands, you're not going to be able to just roll it over as easily, whilst also being tight enough to where all your sensors will still operate correctly as well. So that's just something to note, that obviously you're talking £100 for that, whereas this only cost a couple of quid. So those two, yeah, I will probably use those. I'm quite happy with those. The one that surprised me was the Milanese Loop. Now, in the past, I've hated these kind of bands for the simple reason that it just gets all your arm hairs, and basically it's just uncomfortable on every other instance that I've actually used something similar to this, any type of metal band. However, with this one, I was actually quite surprised, because what happens is once you've got it on and in place, it's actually really comfortable because of how flexible it is essentially. And it's kind of weird the way that they've done it, where the end of it can essentially fall off. So when it came, it was all bunched up like this, and it has these kind of wrinkles in it, and first I was thinking like, what is this, because like that, so it's not quite laid out properly. But once you actually put it on, it does actually seal quite nicely, and basically the magnet is strong enough to where it'll grip, and basically you can keep it tight. And then when the good thing about this one is once you've actually got both of these in place, I don't want to do it right now, because what will happen is that will literally come off the end, because obviously it's got nothing stopping it. But what happens is when this is actually attached to the watch, essentially, because you're going to have these on either end, it can't go anywhere. So you can literally loosen this all the way off and quickly take the watch off. Whereas with this, that's the one thing that is a little annoying. So whenever you want to take your watch off to charge, or if you're having a bath or something like that, having a shower, whenever you're taking this off, it's a bit of a struggle to actually, like, you're thinking every single time you do it, I'm stretching it. Yeah, it should have muscle memory and it should go back to the correct sizing, but you're still thinking, like, in the back of your mind, you've always got that thought in your head that over time it might actually stretch and become pretty much useless, because once this is loose, you're not going to get that same fit. So then you're going to end up pushing it further and further up in order to get that same sort of fit. But yeah, the Milanese Loop actually surprised me a lot. I was a lot happier with this, and I would probably use this just in casual situations a lot more than like when it came. This was the first one that came, and it actually arrived before my Apple Watch did. That's the funny thing. This came all the way from China before Apple could actually supply the watch. So that one did surprise me. Next to that, I've got a couple of just plain sports bands, blue and black. I think I might have actually ordered a few more colors in these, but I can't remember exactly. Right, next one. This one I was actually amazed by in terms of how much I liked this. So this is a sort of faux leather, and it actually feels really good in terms of how soft and supple the material is. I know it's not real, but it's still very good in terms of how it feels, and basically it's a lot more comfortable than I was actually expecting. I was expecting this to be quite rigid, but as you can see, it's nice and soft, and basically the look of it is just really good. What I'll do is I'll take some photos and I'll insert them in with every type of band attached. With these ones, it's probably not going to be that necessary because of how they are. But yeah, this one I actually like a lot. This is probably one that I'd use more just for more sort of formal kind of occasions, because it just looks a bit smarter and a bit classier. But yeah, I do definitely like that particular band. Quality wise, this one is kind of strange because it looks like it's got another pin, the old style pins that you used to get. So how that stands up to any type of wear and tear, I'm not sure, because generally it's not going to be the stitching or anything like that. It's generally going to be the actual insert that would probably fail. But obviously something like this, like I said, if it's something for like a formal occasion, then you're probably not going to be doing anything too intensive to actually cause any issues with that. Right, so now quickly moving on, because we have got other stuff to look at. We'll take a look at these. I'm not 100% sure what these ones are actually called. It doesn't really give a name or anything on here, but this essentially was the loop prior to Apple releasing the new sort of braided and the solo loops. So this is your Velcro style, if you like. And the weird thing about this one was I was actually expecting this color, this blue and sort of limey yellow kind of color, to be on the outside, whereas on the outside you actually get quite a muted blue color, which I don't mind, but it's not as vivid as the internal blue. I have tried this on. This is actually quite comfortable as well. I probably wouldn't use this too much just because of how absorbent it would actually be. And the thing I'd be thinking, work environment, for example, it won't work because generally when you start working, you're going to sweat a little, and then I'm not so sure about washing this. Whereas bands like these, you can, obviously the metal you can just rinse off, but any of your silicone bands, you can just wash down correctly. And obviously right now with the current situation, where you're constantly washing your hands and everything, I'm not sure how these would actually stand up to moisture. Obviously I could test that and make another video. Now this one, I think same thing again. I was expecting a different color. I literally just ordered a few just as a test. I wasn't really that bothered about using these. It was literally just to get a few more variants, and basically usually with all my Apple products I tend to hand them down maybe whenever I upgrade. So say for example the Series 7 comes out and I upgrade, I'll probably give this to somebody else in the house and they can then take their choice of which bands they want to use in whichever colors. Right, so that's the bands taken care of. Now the other thing that I did actually receive, and these I actually ordered quite a while ago, and these are the iPhone 12 cases. And I ordered, well, there's a few that haven't arrived yet, but I thought this would be a good comparison in terms of comparing it to, and don't worry about all the scratches, it's going to have a screen, well, some sort of protector on it that you have to peel off. But this is the case, my daily case for my 11 Pro Max, and this is the case that we've received for the iPhone 12. So if I put them side by side, as you can see, it is slightly taller, and just looking at how these cases tend to be, because this one obviously is going with the rounded edges, and what you can usually get an idea of from this inside kind of loop, this bit here, is how thick the actual phone is. So looking at this, bearing in mind you're going from edge to edge, you've not got a rounded sort of bezel that slots in there. You're essentially going from edge to edge, and if I compare them that way, it looks like it's going to be thinner. It looks like it's going to be slightly thinner, just because if it's fitting in here and this sort of lip here is going over the top, then the phone has to be narrower than what we currently have. In terms of the camera cutout, let's have a look. Try and line this up as best as we can. So yeah, there's no two ways about it. That is a lot bigger no matter how you try and line it up. Like even if you try and just get the top where they've put the LiDAR sensor. Now I hope that is actually the right location, because I've seen some photos where it's the opposite way around, where your LiDAR is actually at the bottom and your flash is at the top. It doesn't really make any difference. Usually I tend to, as soon as the phone's officially announced, you'll get loads more cases popping up. So this is more of a kind of matching it to the blue theme that we've got going on. And similarly, we have another one here. And this, to be honest, this I normally order for when I'm handing the phone to my wife, because these cases tend to be a bit more rigid. Generally I wouldn't use a case this thick, so this is actually too thick a case for my liking. Even these ones tend to be too thick. The only reason I use this particular one, nearly dropping it there, is because of the shape of the 11s and obviously the rounded edge. They can be quite slippery, and when I'm at work, you're constantly washing your hands and your hands become quite dry, so it's quite easy to drop stuff. Whereas with something like this, obviously you've got a bit of grip on the edges. Generally what I actually tend to use is the thinnest, almost like I think it comes up as 0.03 millimeters thin case, and it's just there for scratches. It's not there to actually protect the phone. I've never dropped a phone, so that's not something that I ever worry about. Width-wise, I think they're probably identical. Obviously you've got a slight different shape there, so that's slightly different, but otherwise yeah, it looks like it's a tiny bit bigger. So for anybody out there who's worried that, oh, this is getting way too big now, it's not massively bigger. I'm holding it level at the bottom, and that's how much extra you get you're getting at the top. So it's not going to be massively bigger. And with the shape, with these kind of cases, what you normally tend to find is, because it has to loop around, you end up having a much chunkier case. With something like this, generally what you're going to find is, because it can wrap a lot closer. In fact, this one is actually, because it's not got these extra bits at the top, this one's actually slightly smaller. So let's compare this one. Yeah, and that's a lot closer. So that is literally only a few millimeters. And as you can see, this one, you're going from the top there and then rounding, whereas this one, your casing is essentially going, obviously not quite to the top because you've got the thickness of the material, but it just means that, in theory, if I don't know what's going to happen with the bezels, whether it is as, no, the inside is just completely flat. So the inside is more like iPad Pro and your iPhone 5s and everything before that, where you literally had a sort of sharp edge, which is a good thing and a bad thing. It gives you more grip to hold it, but obviously it digs in. I previously did state that I never liked the iPhone 4 5's design in terms of the sharpness of the bezels, especially when they had the chamfered edges, because it just constantly dug into your hand when you're holding it like that and you end up operating it. Generally what tends to happen is it digs into this finger here, and I believe there is like a new sort of common injury that people suffer, where their phones are digging into this finger so much that it actually dents well, it causes micro fractures in their little finger. But yeah, it's not something that's too big or unmanageable in any stretch. But yeah, you have got your sizing there. So IP iPhone 12 6.7, and I'm not sure if this will actually state it. No, but this similarly, again, on the actual packaging, if we just take a look at that, it once again says iPhone 12 6.7. So most of my phone cases, to be perfectly honest, I've ordered from AliExpress for quite a few years. I've not actually bought genuine cases for quite some time, and the simple reason is, similar to football kits and other things, most of these kind of products are actually produced abroad. Most of them are probably produced in China, so the fact that they're getting sent out from there sometimes means, yeah, you do get some really fake, cheap and nasty kind of crap, but what you also get is, like this one for example, this exact case was being sold in the UK for, I believe it was £30. I paid, I believe it was something like $5.99 or something like that, and literally the only difference is, rather than some fancy packaging with a cardboard box and branding, it probably came in something like this, which once it's out, it doesn't make no difference. So for me, I've got no issues buying cases and things like that, because generally it's literally just to change up the look. For me, it's not a case of I need protection because it's going to get dropped or anything like that. Generally, all I need is scratch resistance or scratch protection. So yeah, these will do fine for me. I'll probably try and find one once the official announcement comes out. I'll probably try and find one a bit thinner than this to use. But this one is actually not too bad on second viewing. I did actually have a very similar one for my the one that I'm actually recording on, the 11 Pro Max, where it's similar to this, but it has all your chunky kind of protection areas around all your edges, and that does make it a bit more unmanageable. But this is pretty much identical size. So yeah, that's a really messy look at some AliExpress products. What I'll do is I'll chuck some links in the description below of anything that I've liked, and basically you can take it from there.